Just before I start today's reflection, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of the youngsters who said prayers for us at the end of every reflection last week. It was so good of you, greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. So that's to Daria, to Kerem, to Tunai, to Olivia and to Morgan. Thank you. So Monday's reading is from Mark chapter 2, reading from verse 18, and it says this: John's disciples and the Pharisees' disciples were fasting. People came and said to Jesus, "Look here, John's disciples are fasting, and so are the Pharisees' disciples. Why aren't yours?" "How can the wedding guests fast?" Jesus replied, "if the bridegroom is there with them? As long as they've got the bridegroom with them, they can't fast. Mind you, the time is coming when the bridegroom will be taken away from them. Then they'll fast all right. No one sews unshrunk cloth onto an old cloak. If they do, the new patch will tear the old cloth and they'll end up with a worse hole. Nor does anyone put new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the wine will burst the skins and they'll lose the wine and the skins together. New wine needs new skins." Amen. There are times in every nation's history where the whole nation has some kind of commemoration. I guess in America that would be 9/11. In the UK, we tend to every year have our Remembrance Day, and it's about the 11th of the 11th, which was the commemoration of the World Wars. So we want to be able to show due respect for what has gone before. It's part of our nation's history. For the Jews, there were many horrendous things that happened in their history. And so there were many times when they had commemoration days, times where they came before God as a commemoration of what had happened in the past. Likewise, they had festival days where they rejoiced about things that God had done, but there were other times that were times for fasting, for commemoration. And this was obviously one of these times because John the Baptist, well, his disciples are fasting, the Pharisees' disciples are fasting, and yet Jesus' disciples aren't. And this is what brings this question to the forefront. And Jesus' answer is another one of these analogies that he's so good at giving that makes so much sense when you look at it. He refers to himself as being like the bridegroom at the wedding. He also refers to this whole business about putting new cloth, unshrunk cloth onto an old jacket, or the other one of putting the new wine into the old skins. And all of these, I guess, kind of have a similar meaning. They bring it all together when we look at it properly. Now, quite often, these little passages are used when we want to do something new and different in the church, to give us a way of kind of saying, well, look, it's good to be able to do something new. And yeah, okay, that's probably fair enough to a point, but it kind of undersells what Jesus is talking about here. So let's go back to this fact that why are they celebrating when everybody else is commemorating? And it goes back to the fact of what we said the other day: Jesus came, and he came for a purpose. This is a time when God and Israel are getting together again. This is something new that's happening now. This is the start of new creation. It's not a time to weep. It is a time to celebrate. God is now doing something new and powerful. And so when Jesus is talking about this whole business of not putting old cloth onto new cloth onto an old jacket, what he's saying is that it's not that the old rules have to be thrown out, it's that God is doing something so much more. At the time when God made those old rules, the covenant, if you like, the 10 Commandments and the covenant, God always said he would do more. And this is that time. This is that time now coming up to a new covenant. Now that time of the new covenant is going to be a time when the disciples will say goodbye to Jesus. But they will say hello again in a different way. So there will be that time of mourning and fasting for the disciples, as all of this is signed, sealed and delivered, if you like. But for the time being, the bridegroom's still there with them. It's a time to rejoice. And although God's basic laws will still be there, now there is new creation. There is no way that you're going to fit all of God's new kingdom creation into the old wineskins, the old systems that they currently have. God's going to, if you like, blow the doors off, and something brilliantly new and fresh and brand new kingdom, God's kingdom, is going to begin. Now here's the thing, we're still all involved in that kingdom building. And you may be thinking, this is a strange passage to be reading today, Karen, or at a time of Lent, when some of us are fasting. In other words, we've given up something for Lent, given up chocolate or given up sweets. So some of us are doing that kind of thing. So maybe this is the wrong thing to be talking about celebrating at a time like this. But no, it's not, because when you think about it, we're on that journey. Okay, we are involved now, all of us, in this bringing in of God's new kingdom. And if we want to play our part properly, and if we want to serve to the best of our potential and allow God to bring us into our full potential, then we need to make sure that we get rid of the old stuff that holds us back. That's what the fasting's about. The fasting is about taking time to make sure that we get rid of and say goodbye to the stuff that holds us back, so that we can be those guests, the wedding guests, you like, at the new party that's there to celebrate God's new creation. And we are part of that new creation and also part of building God's kingdom. Jesus brought it in for all time, once and for all, 2,000 years ago. It's for us now to accelerate the building of that new kingdom and to be part of it. And today, Alex is going to close in prayer for us. Thank you so much, Alex.
Prayer for today. Help us, Lord, to be wise in all we do, to celebrate your new life, and to put to death that detracts from it.